What's up, everybody? Ninja Nick back with another round of this League Cup in Port Ewen, New York at POW Comics and Games. Honestly, one of my favorite places to play now. They give 2 prize packs out every time you play in a League Challenge or Cup. Unfortunately, they have a cap of like 26 players on their events just because of space. They are a small store, and it is very warm in there. If you aren't used to changing your sleeves every single tournament, you definitely have to when you're there. I usually use my sleeves for multiple events. But anyway, we have, I believe his name is Mike here on the left. I think I played him at a regional because that the Dice V-Star marker matte combination is ringing a bell for me. And then and I'm not sure of the player on the right, but he is playing a Rudy Wade V-Star marker. So shout out to Rudy Wade, the most infamous musician on Earth. If you don't have a Ninja Nick V-Star marker, you might as well use a Rudy Wade V-Star marker. I forgot to bring my V-Star markers to this event. I usually leave them by the camera in case anybody wants to take one. So they can watch their own matches. They can have an easy, like, link to it. But it looks like some sort of Arceus mirror match we've got going on here. Player on the left goes first. We're going to attach that choice belt to the Giratina, because it's probably more relevant on the Giratina than it will be on the Arceus, most likely. Probably don't know exactly what we're playing against yet, but this is the Table 1 match, so both of these players are 2-0 in this round 3 here. Oh, and let me start the timer again. God dang it. I gotta remember to start my timer. It's a new thing for me, so I gotta remember to do it every time. That's okay. We're just behind by 1 turn. Unfortunately, we missed the energy attachment, so that is actually huge. In the Arceus mirror especially, you need to make sure you get the first energy attachment. And it looks like we're getting a Nest Ball for, is that a single strike Tyranitar V? Yeah. So I'm not sure what this list consists. Oh, and Flying Pikachu as well is in the front of that list, I see. Yeah, I just saw the Flying Pikachu V at the front. So I guess with the Adventurer's Discovery, you probably get, yeah, Arceus V-Star, and then maybe just second Arceus V-Star, I suppose, would be fine. Or, I don't know, if you play like another, oh, he's got Umbreon in there as well, so I guess he's playing Tyranitar because it combos with the Darkness Energy you're already playing for the Umbreon. I think that the Slacking is just better. The Slacking does 20 more damage. And if you're playing Arceus, most of the time you're playing Path to the Peak anyway. So you can just, you know, hit hard with the Slacking. But I guess this way you don't have to play Path to the Peak in your deck. You could just go full Lost City. So he's probably playing like 1 Path and 3 Lost City or something for his stadium count, I would assume. And that would be the reasoning for playing Tyranitar over the Slacking. So he's going to be reducing his damage output by 20 by playing the Tyranitar instead. And he has to mill his own deck. But again, it does share the Darkness Energy with the Umbreon. I just think it's a little weird that you're also trying to fit Flying Pikachu into here as well. I guess it does help the Lost Box matchup a little bit, but the Flying Pikachu is weak to Lightning, so they can always just Escape Rope Boss and then knock you out with a Raikou. So it's not really too hard to play around a Flying Pikachu, especially this day and age. It was a lot harder previously. But it looks like we attached the V-Guard energy for turn and pass. It would have been really great to have a double turbo there. We would have been able to go for the Trinity Charge and start loading up our Pokemon. And then potentially have an attack next turn. Even if you miss the double turbo next turn, you could have Trinity Charged 1 to yourself. And then like 2 to the bench. And then just attach for turn. And then Trinity Nova next turn. But it looks like we are going to Ultra Ball for a Giratina V-Star. A little surprised that we're not going for something like a Bibarel. Normally, these Arceus Giratina decks do play a 2-2 Bibarel line with 1 Squovet. I definitely do like that he's not going for the 1 Squovet here, because some people will just Squovet and try to YOLO into their 1 card that they need for the turn. And that's, like, probably the most atrocious play I've ever seen anybody do ever. I mean, when it works, it works. If you absolutely have to, you do it, but I see a lot of players doing it when they don't absolutely have to. If it's like, get this card or lose, then you Skull Vet. If you can buy yourself a turn, if you can hold your hand a turn, then definitely do that. But looks like we miss another energy attachment. We judge ourselves into a whole bunch of nothing again. We do have an Iono for next turn. And that Arceus V-Star that we evolved into on the bench could have Starbirthed us into the double turbo for the Trinity charge. But the Path to the Peak is shutting that off. So this most likely one of Path that is in this deck on the right is putting in a ton of work. And we do see that we just attach one energy for turn in Trinity charge. Honestly, as long as you're the first attack in an Arceus Mirror, that's really good. So the opponent still not being able to get any energy into play whatsoever. And now you're going to have a lot of energy into play. So at the very least, one turn ahead now, even though they went second, which is crazy to see. Looks like we top deck into another Arceus V. You could bench that and then Iono, I guess. Or you could just Iono. The Arceus will go to the bottom of the deck, so you're not too worried about redrawing into it. There's also a boss's orders here, but no, gonna have to go for the Iono. Definitely needs to find that double turbo energy this turn, or if he plays a stadium that's not Path to the Peak, that he could replace this one with. But more than likely, Giratina versions actually just play a bunch of Path to the Peaks generally. They're not a Lost City version. He does get the double turbo energy, but unfortunately also draws into 3 basic energy. He's going to bench the Radiant Alakazam just to essentially thin it from the deck. And we're going to Trinity charge. So again, we are one turn behind here. There's still plenty of basic energy in the deck, it looks like. So as long as we can judge or Iono those energies that are in hand back into the deck, then maybe we'll still benefit. And it looks like we're going to charge up the Arceus as well. I like charging up the Arceus here a little bit better, especially with how many energies you still have in deck. It looks like you can still load up a Giratina even with the Trinity Nova on the next turn. And yeah, I think it's possible that this Tyranitar can just come up and knock out the Arceus V. So if you were expecting that play to happen, maybe you go for the energy on the Giratina, but then you don't have any energy in play on the next turn after that. So you definitely have to just use the Arceus to just keep loading damage into play, Okay, so we are playing Hawlucha in this deck too, it looks like. So we're going to ping for 10 onto 2 different Pokemon. And I guess if you have Choice Belt Tyranitar, that would actually hit 270 and knock out these Pokemon V-Star. So that is a cool combo to see, so even without the use of the slacking, but still, I think milling 4 cards in an Arceus deck is too much of a liability, and I think it would just be better to play slacking and more Path to the Peaks. Because you benefit from shutting your opponent's abilities off, and then your own. If you really want a turn of abilities, you could always like play a couple Lost Vacuums as well with your Path to the Peaks. I feel like you could cut the whole Flying Pikachu line out of the deck to make room for stuff like that. So we are gonna shuffle the deck here from this Ultra Ball. Discarded the Luminion. We're gonna attach a double turbo for turn. Looks like we have no basic energies in hand. And we are going all in on this T-Tar. And we're gonna have to mill ourselves 4 cards. We're gonna take 2 prizes here. So first blood. And that's 1 double turbo. Ooh, 2 double turbo. Nest Ball and Lost City. Nest Ball, Lost City doesn't matter too much, but the 2 double turbo is huge because those are ways that those Arceus can get powered up. Now you're probably going to have to take all 6 prizes just off this one Tyranitar. You still have access to one more double turbo potentially in the deck. But it's really rough. So it looks like we do see a boss's orders here from our left player is going to go Trinity Nova for 200 since he only has basic energies on it, is able to do the full 200, knock out that flying Pikachu. I think getting that flying Pikachu down was pretty irrelevant, unless you were really trying to like paralock your opponent, like try to flip heads and paralyze them. But I don't think that that's like something you should ever like try to go for, especially this early. So just benching the Pikachu was a bit of a hassle. I think that that could have been maybe an Umbreon instead, but I think the Umbreon has 200 HP, so I guess that would have just been an Umbreon going down. At least the Pikachu has free retreat, so maybe that's why he got it. But again, that was an easy knockout for him. If he just didn't bench that at all, then maybe the Arceus V-Star came up instead and would have to get like 2-shot. And if you find your last double turbo, you could just retreat. And I would assume he's playing at least one switch, one escape rope in the deck as well. But here comes down the Umbreon. We're thinking about it. Yeah, we don't have access to abilities because of that Path to the Peak, so I don't know how relevant the Umbreon VMAX will be later in the game. And we do see the energy was split on that Trinity charge, putting 1 onto the Giratina V and 2 onto the Giratina V-Star. Knowing that he's a Choice Belt boss away from being able to knock out the Giratina V-Star, I do think it is correct to split the energy up. But since the boss's orders just went to the Giratina V, I feel like that's a little bit punishing here. Now he has to find an additional energy. We're going to mill 4 more cards. We get rid of a Judge. We get rid of a V-Guard energy as well. So we're losing quite a lot of energy cards here. And now we do have the attachment for a turn because we had so many energies in hand. And now that double turbo energy that's currently on the Radiant Alakazam can be lost zoned for the full cost of lost impact from the Giratina. But it looks like he might be choosing to do 2 basic energies instead. I don't know. I think I would go for the double turbo and leave my Arceus as an attacking option. Looks like we're going to go for the Ultra Ball. We're going to discard a Arceus V-Star as well as a Grass Energy. We're going to search our deck for any one Pokemon. And there's the Bidoof that I thought we were going to get earlier. I mean, it ended up going well getting the Giratina V-Star because now we are able to attack with it. But I suppose if we had gotten the Bidoof earlier, we would have had the Giratina V-Star for this turn. I guess not, because then the Giratina had 2 energies on it, would have been the one bossed up. So yeah, I guess getting the Giratina ended up working out really well. So we are going to lost zone 2 basic energies off the Arceus. Yeah, again, not sure why we're doing that instead of getting rid of the double turbo. I mean, if like Temple of Sinnoh was in play, then maybe you would have to get rid of like 2 energy, but not quite sure, so. But anyway, we knock out the only Pokemon our opponent has in play that has any energy on it, and that should lock up game 1 because we already took 2 prizes from that Pikachu earlier, and now this Giratina still has the energy on it to be able to lost impact a second time. V-Guard energy, they're already down 1 because they retreated 1 off this Arceus earlier, and well, 1 off an Arceus earlier, as well as milled 1 with the Tyranitar, and we just have to scoop from there. Oh, and I'm getting a phone call. Why do I always get a phone call exclusively when I'm recording? All right, hang on, guys. All right, I was just on the phone for a whole hour. I have to solve the world's problems is basically what it comes down to. So yeah, Mike ended up winning game 1 pretty convincingly, I would say. And we're going to go straight into game 2 here. So I mean, basically just like draw energy faster is the only thing I can really say that will make a difference in this matchup. That's kind of how the Arceus mirror goes. So our player on the right will most likely be going first. And we would like to see an energy attachment of some sort, and then just hope that our player on the left ends up missing their energy attachment. But I do see 2 energies already in hand, so he'll at least get an energy attachment. But if he gets that double... Oh, he has the double turbo energy. So we're going to see a turn 1 Trinity charge from the left. And on the right, we actually start Hawlucha instead of the Arceus. This is really bad. Even a Pikachu start would have been great because it has free retreat. And you would be able to retreat into an Arceus. But yeah, this is looking pretty rough. So you're gonna need like an energy attached to the Hawlucha, and then retreat into an Arceus next turn with a double turbo to Trinity charge, and then you're 1 turn behind even though you went first. So he's gonna really need to find a switching card. So I guess just energy attachment to the Arceus this turn, and then you can Starbirth for a switching card. This does mean that you can't put Path to the Peak in play this turn if you have it, but I think that's fine because your opponent is not going to be able to evolve into the V-Star. Since you are going first, they can't evolve on their first turn. So it does give you the option to Starbirth and then to put Path to the Peak down. So I'd really like to see that in this game. We do get the turn 1 Bidoof down. That's huge. That's something we did not really have access to much of at all in the last game. I'd like to see the Bibarel. And we see Path to the Peak here along with the Trinity charge. And that could, in and of itself, just be game-winning. We'll have to see exactly how good or bad that is. There are a couple of basic energies in hand to just attach to the Arceus on this next turn. So I think just fully loading up this Giratina is perfect. Because if it does get bossed up and hit with a Trinity Nova, you could always just respond with the Giratina attack to knock them out. And kind of trade even value, and then just go in with Trinity Nova a little bit later. So we're going to have to see energy attachment, evolution, and a switching card. Now that the Path to the Peak is in play, you cannot use Starbirth to get there. Looks like we are discarding a double turbo energy as well as a Professor's Research, so I guess that's telling me that we do have the energy that we need already in hand. We will be using this most likely to get that Arceus V-Star. And if we have maybe another research, we could dig for the switch. Even an escape rope would be fine. You would be knocking out the Bidoof most likely. You'll only be taking 1 odd prize, which is not exactly what you want to be doing, but you'll be potentially cutting your opponent's draw options off for the remainder of the game. So they could always just get a bricky hand and not be able to do much of anything with it. Of course, you do need to evolve into the Giratina V-Star in order to use the Giratina V-Star's attack. So without the option of the Bibarel, that's one less way that they could draw into what they need. So it looks like we are going to go for the research. I like playing the research over the Iono. Yes, you lose the Umbreon and the Iono, but you dig 1 card deeper, your opponent has a small hand, force them to try to get exactly what they need. And it looks like we do have the escape rope as well as an energy. So we will be able to Trinity Nova this turn. But do we have a benched Pokemon that we can charge to? And yes, we do. We have the Arceus V. So this is actually really good here. So yeah, the escape rope will likely... Depends on what is in the hand here. Oh, it looks like there is an Ultra Ball. So I think the plan was to Ultra Ball for the Bibarel on this next turn to be able to draw cards. So yeah, I do like the promotion of the Giratina V. It's not really what you want to be doing. You don't want damage to come down on that too early. But you could always Ultra Ball for the Bibarel, draw into the Giratina V-Star, and then just trade with the Arceus V-Star. Or you could always like switch into the Arceus V, evolve it into the V-Star. Looks like, do we have the... I think we do have the V-Star in hand. Yeah, so we could Ultra Ball for the Bibarel, put down the V-Star, and then just draw 5, see if maybe we can get into a supporter or any of the other pieces we need. So not looking too rough here. Definitely like that the Bidoof was kept on the bench. So it looks like we do Trinity Nova, only 2 to the benched Arceus. It's a little bit odd to me. I guess he does have a lightning in hand, as well as a darkness, I think. But yeah, it's always odd when you choose not to get the full value off of your Arceus V-Star, but maybe he does want to conserve some energy in deck for the next Trinity Nova. Putting down maybe another basic Pokemon. Like his own Umbreon, perhaps, would be pretty good. And looks like the Ultra Ball did discard the Arceus V-Star. I am a little bit surprised by that. He's opting to keep the Choice Belt, I believe, was the other card in hand. I guess the Choice Belt does allow Arceus V to hit 210, which would one-shot a Umbreon V. Because Umbreon V does have 200. So maybe I do like that. Yeah, I think you put the Choice Belt onto the Arceus V here. There is no V-Guard on your opponent's Pokemon. And then just try to draw into the Giratina V-Star, which is the top deck, as well as the second card from the top is the Arceus V-Star. This is absolutely huge. Just drawing into absolutely everything you could have ever possibly wanted. You can even attach for turn the double colorless to the double turbo to something. And then use Giratina's Lost Impact to Lost Zone the double turbo, but I think it's probably safer just getting rid of 2 of the energy off of your own Giratina, because it will most likely just be going down on this next turn. We even see the judge is going to limit the opponent's hand and give ourselves here a fresh hand. And this is like the classic battle of consistency versus tackiness that I always like to talk about. So the player on the left is playing just pure consistency. They've just got Arceus and Giratina, and they've got the Bibarel to help them draw cards. The player on the right does not have the Bibarel. They have the Umbreon, they have this Hawlucha, they have the Flying Pikachu. So you can kind of cheese out certain matchups if you just get lucky by having all of those techs, but just being able to get to the same game plan every single game by making your deck as consistent as possible is usually just the better call, in my opinion. Looks like we are nest balling for that Tyranitar V. We're going to be able to load that up now with this Arceus V-Star, but will we have the Darkness energies? I know we have 1 in hand at the moment and 1 on this Arceus V-Star. So we're going to need to be able to get 2 onto this Tyranitar. We can go 3 of any energies to the Tyranitar. As long as there's 1 Darkness energy in deck, we can load to the Tyranitar. Then we can attach to it the next turn. But what's that going to really get for you? You're going to hit for 200 and mill yourself 4. That's not going to be able to trade well with this Arceus V-Star. I mean, I guess it sort of could, because the Arceus V-Star can't one-shot you with 2 double turbos on it. And I guess it's just your best attacking option at the moment. So yeah, I guess you do have to go for that. The other thing you could have gone for is the Umbreon V, but that can just be like a boss's orders away from being knocked out. But again, because there's 2 double turbos on that Arceus, we're not actually going to be able to see that do that damage. We're doing 160 right now, 190 with the Choice Belt, so we can knock out a Flying Pikachu, but that's it with this Arceus. Otherwise, it's going to be 2-shotting everything else. Any of the other 2 prizers at the very least. So Trinity Nova is going to take this knockout. We did attach the basic darkness to the Arceus, and will that leave enough basic darkness in deck for this Tyranitar? I see 1 in deck, 2 in deck. Okay, yep, so this is perfectly fine. So get 2, and then the 3rd energy is the lightning. I like that. That's a good search there. So, Mike here on the left is letting his opponent complete his Trinity Nova before he even decides to promote his Pokemon. I was at NAIC and I promoted my Pokemon, and a judge came over and was very upset with me that I promoted my Pokemon before my opponent's Trinity Nova was over with. But I was trying to save time so that we wouldn't go to a Game 3. Because, of course, in this format, Game 3s do not finish or even happen sometimes. A lot of ties in this format. We are going to see the Ultra Ball, double League Cup Ultra Ball. You'll love to see it. Those are beautiful cards. They do warp, though. I'm not too much of a fan of Pokemon Reverse Holo cards just because of that warpage that they do have. I thought that the Scarlet and Violet series Reverse Holos were a lot better because they weren't warping at all at first. Normally, all of these old Reverse Holos always warp just, like, consistently for me. But in the new Scarlet and Violet ones weren't. But then we had, like, this week where the just heat was absolutely insane. And we kept having severe thunderstorms every single day or every other day. And the heat and humidity combined made all of my Scarlet and Violet cards curl. Like, they were like this curled. They just went much worse than any other Reverse Holo I had ever seen. I'm actually thinking that they are much worse now. So this Arceus V-Star here will not be able to respond with a knockout on any of the Pokemon here on the right. So just a 190 to this Arceus can start loading up this second Giratina V on the bench. And we'll just see these Arceus just trading blows potentially. I don't think that Tyranitar can come up and take a knockout. Not without like Alakazam and the Hawlucha and like other damage being on board. I wouldn't even know how this deck puts damage into play for the Alakazam other than this, just this Hawlucha. So if there was only a way to pick up the Hawlucha, if maybe he plays Penny, he can pick it up, put it back down, ping those two V Pokemon on the bench, and then you're a choice belt away of knocking out a V-Star with that Tyranitar. It does have all basic energy this time, as opposed to in the last game where we had to attach a double turbo. And that Trinity Nova is going to be putting 2 Psychics to the Giratina, as well as 1 Grass to the Arceus V. So, a pretty good looking setup right now. It's very odd to have to attack with the Giratina as your second attack and then pivot back into an Arceus V-Star. But it's ending up working out very well. So they are both tied on prizes, both at 4 here, but our player on the left, Mike, does have damage that he put down onto the opponent's board. So it's looking like he is a little bit favored here, especially since his Giratina can always come in with a one-shot on any Pokemon V-Star or V in a future turn. So just the game plan should be finish off this Arceus V-Star with our own Arceus V-Star, or if we want to retreat into the other Arceus V that's on the bench, attach a double turbo to that, evolve and Trinity Nova with that. You can even just attack with the Arceus V as is without evolving it. Finish off the Arceus V-Star. Then the Tyranitar comes up, knocks you out, but then you have the Giratina V-Star to respond to the Tyranitar. So, mapping the next couple of turns out ahead, it does look like our left Arceus player, our Giratina version, is coming out on top, but we will just have to see, because, you know, he could always just not find the second Arceus, the second Giratina V-Star. This Iono might actually help him get there, though, if he did not, like, pull it off those last prize cards. If he pulled them off the last prize cards, they will be on the bottom of the deck. Let's see, we do get a Nest Ball. We do also have access to that B-Roll to draw some extra cards as well. The Iono to 4, putting him at a fresh 4. He does have another energy. He could just attach for turn. He could always use the B-Roll. He could play the Judge. So plenty of ways to potentially draw into that Giratina. And you do have a couple of turns to potentially do that as well. Or not, because the Umbreon comes down here. And on this next turn, we could actually see the Tyranitar coming up, the Umbreon using its VMAX's ability to bring up the Giratina and then one-shotting that Giratina with the Tyranitar before it's able to evolve. So we really have to find the evolution this turn exactly. So I would say you do have a judge here. I would say maybe attach that double turbo. It looks like we're not putting it to the Arceus V, which is, again, very odd. I think maybe he's just trying to play around the fact that he could just get boss stalled and doesn't really plan to attack with this next Arceus V. But again, if he just retreats into it, he could attack and knock out the Arceus V-Star and try to bait the Tyranitar attacking into that instead of into the Giratina V. So we're going to Nest Ball, see what's left in our deck. Looks like we're just going to pull the Spiritomb out. In case the Path to the Peak somehow does go down, it will stop Illuminion from coming into play for the opponent. So I do like to see that here. Looks like the camera got knocked a little bit ajar. Let's see if I can fix that. That's better. The camera was on the table this time, and as some of you guys may know at this point, that the camera being on the table does allow for shaky cam. And I do apologize for that, but there is no room on the floor to put the tripod at this store. But there is plenty of space on the table. You could fit 4 players at a table very comfortably with the tripod in the middle of the table. So that is what I ended up going for during this day. And funnily enough, I have a power brick that can charge an iPhone to full 10 times. And somehow it died. And I charged it recently. So it died during this tournament, and I was very lucky to be able to find a USB to wall adapter that the TO had, thanks Shane. And I think it was after this round, or maybe after the next round, I managed to get that from him, and I plugged my phone directly into the wall. We had just enough slack. There was a power outlet right behind where this player on the left is sitting. So, and we are just seeing another Trinity Nova is going to take the knockout on this Arceus V-Star. And yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. We are just going to shuffle the deck. No more energy is coming out of the deck here because there is none left. You can let your opponent take the knockout on this Arceus V-Star, and then you just respond with the Giratina V-Star. The way that you can win this deck, this matchup very easily now is playing the Lost City and evolving into the Umbreon VMAX, or just playing Boss's Orders. Either of those will bring the Giratina V to the active spot. Then you can mill your own deck 4 cards, doing 240 with Tyranitar's Single Strike Crush. And there it is. There's the Boss's Orders. Yeah, now it's going to be really weird. Is there going to be a response? We can hit for 190 with this already damaged Arceus. We do mill a Lost City too. That's a bit unfortunate. But going down to 2 prizes remaining, is there a way that Mike can find to knock out this Tyranitar or to knock out the Umbreon? And he has Sharon's Care in his deck. That is amazing. So now we can attach the double turbo energy to this other Arceus V. This is why he did not establish anything else on that Arceus V before, is because he knew he had access to Sharon's Care and was just hoping that he could get that either off his prizes or off his draws. And that's huge. That heals all of the damage off, and now there's no way that the Single Strike Crush can win him the game. There are no other Pokemon Vs in play, so there is no way that our Tyranitar player will be able to take these 2 prizes before our player on the left is able to take 2 prizes. So the V-Guard energy is reducing some damage. That's just canceling out the addition from the Choice Belt. So we are going to be doing 180 damage here and just shuffling our deck because of the Trinity Nova. So draw for turn. Is there anything we can do? I mean, if we play Echoing Horn and then either Boss's Orders or Lost City Umbreon VMAX, then we can still win. So I would think a deck like this type of Arceus deck should be playing an echoing horn, or one echoing horn at the very least, would be really great to see. You could even play an Irida in the deck so that you can search for it and Luminion. But it looks like we're attaching a second V-Guard to Umbreon and retreating? Oh, no. Oh, that's not going to get you anywhere. Yeah, that's just saying that that wins you the game. So we are going for the Temple of Sinnoh. Attaching for the turn shuts off both the double turbo and both of the V-Guard energies, making it so that Arceus with one more energy has the 3 energy it needs, the double turbo counting as 1 energy that no longer reduces 20, and we are able to one-shot the Umbreon. So absolutely crazy plays there, and that's why I love playing Sharon's Care in Arceus. So as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff listed up above. Links to the Discord, the Twitter, and all of those other social media links in the description box of this video, and we will see you guys next time for round 4.